Chapter 10. The Performance Space. Charlotte basically didn't stop talking as we headed down to the second floor. She was describing the play they had put on last year, which was Oliver. She played Oliver even though she's a girl. As she said this, she pushed the double doors to a huge auditorium. At the other end of the room was a stage. Charlotte started skipping toward the stage. Julian ran after her, and then turned around halfway down the aisles. "Come on," he said loudly, waving for me to follow him, which I did. "There were like hundreds of people in the audience that night," said Charlotte, and it took me a second to realize she was still talking about Oliver. I was so nervous. I had so many lines, and I had only these songs to sing. It was so hard. Although she was talking to me, she really didn't look at me much. On opening night, my parents were all the way in back of the auditorium, like where Jack is right now. But when the lights are off, you can't really see that far back. So I was like, "Where are my parents? Where are my parents?" And then Mr. Dennis, our theater art teacher last year, he said, "Charlotte, stop being such a diva." And I was like, "Okay," and then I spotted my parents and I was totally fine. I didn't forget a single line. While she was talking, I noticed Julian staring at me out of the corner of his eye. This is something I see people do a lot with me. They think I don't know they are staring, but I can tell from the way their heads are tilted. I turned around to see where Jack had gone to. He had stayed in the back of the auditorium like he was bored. "We put on a place every year," said Charlotte. "I don't think he's going to be in the school play," Charlotte said Julian sarcastically. "You can be in the play without actually being in the play," Charlotte answered, looking at me. "You can do the lighting, you can paint the backdrops." "Oh yeah, Ubi," said Julian, turning his finger in the air. "But you don't have to take the theater art elective if you don't want to," Charlotte said, shrugging. "There's a dance or chorus of band. There's leadership." "Only dogs take leadership," Julian interrupted. "Julian, you are being so obnoxious," said Charlotte, which made Julian laugh. "I'm talking the science elective," I said. "Cool," said Charlotte. Julian looked directly at me. "The science elective is supposedly the hardest elective at all," he said. "No offense, but if you are never ever been in the school before, why do you think you are suddenly going to be smart enough to take the science elective? I mean, have you ever even studied science before? Like real science, not like the kind you do in kids?" "Yeah," I nodded. "She was homeschooled, Julian," said Charlotte. "So teachers came to his hall?" asked Julian, looking puzzled. "No, his mother taught him," answered Charlotte. "Is she a teacher?" Julian said. "Is your mother a teacher?" Charlotte asked me. "No," I said. "So she's not a real teacher," said Julian, as if that proved his point. "That's what I mean. How can someone who's not a real teacher actually teach science?" "I'm sure you will do fine," said Charlotte, looking at me. "Let's just go to the library now," Jack called out, sounding really bored. "Why is your hair so long?" Julian said to me. He sounded like he was annoyed. I didn't know what to say, so I just shrugged. "Can I ask you a question?" he said. I shrugged again. Didn't he just ask me a question? "What's the deal with your face? I mean, were you in a fire or something?" "Julian, that's so rude," said Charlotte. "I'm not being rude," said Julian. "I'm just asking a question that Mr. Thurstman said we can ask questions if we wanted to. Not rude question like that, said Charlotte. Besides, he was born like that. That's what Mr. Thurstman said. You just were not listening. I was so listening, said Julian. I just thought maybe his were in the fire too. Yes, Julian, said Jack. Just shut up. You shut up, Julian yelled. Come on, August, said Jack. Let's just go to the library already. I walked toward Jack and followed him out of the auditorium. He held the double doors open for me and I passed by. He looked at me right in the face, kind of daring me to look back at him, which I did. Then I actually smiled. I don't know, sometimes when I have the feeling like I'm almost crying, it can turn into an almost laughing feeling. And that must have been the feeling I was having then, because I smiled, almost like I was going to giggle. The thing is, because of the way my face is, people who don't know me well don't always get that I'm smiling. My mouth doesn't go up at the corners the way other people's mouths do. It just goes straight across my face. But somehow Jack well got that. I had smiled at him and he smiled back. Julian is a Jack. He whispered before Julian and Charlotte reached us. But dude, you are going to have a talk. He said this seriously, like he was trying to help me. I nodded as Julian and Charlotte caught up to us. We were all quiet for a second, all of us just kind of nodding, looking at the floor. Then I looked up at Julian. There was supposedly, by the way, I said, what you are talking about? I said, no, you said supposedly before, and I said I did not. Yeah, you did, Charlotte nodded. You said the science elective is supposedly really hard. I heard you. I absolutely did not, he insisted. Whatever, said Jack. Let's just go. Yeah, let's just go, agreed Charlotte. Following Jack down the stairs to the next floor, I started to follow her, but Julian cut right in front of me, which actually made me stumble backward. Oops, sorry about that, said Julian. But I could tell the way he looked at me that he wasn't really sorry at all. That's his own chapter 10.
Chapter 2, The Deal. Mom and Mr. Thurstman were talking when we got back to the office. Miss Garcia was the first to see us come back, and she started smiling her shiny smile as we walked in. So, August, what did you think? Did you like what you saw? She asked. Yeah, I nodded, looking over at Mom. Jack, Julian, and Charlotte were standing by the door, not sure where to go or if they were still needed. I wondered what else they'd been told about me before they'd met me. Did you see the baby chick? Mom asked me. As I shook my head, Julian said, are you talking about the baby chicks in science? Those get donated to a farm at the end of every school year. Oh, said Mom, disappointed. But they hatch new ones every year in science. Julian added. So August will be able to see them again in the spring. Oh, good, said Mom, eyeing me. They were so cute, August. I wish she wouldn't talk to me like I was baby in front of other people. So August, said Mr. Thurstman, did these guys show you around enough or do you want to see more? I realized I forgot to ask them to show me the gift. We did anyway, Mr. Thurstman, said Julian. Excellent, said Mr. Thurstman. And I told him about the school play and some of the electives, said Charlotte. Oh, no, she said suddenly. We forgot to show him the art room. That's okay, said Mr. Stutzman. But we can show it to him now, Sarah offered. Don't we have to pick up very soon? I said to Mom. That was our signal for my telling Mom if I really wanted to leave. Oh, you're right, said Mom, getting up. I could tell she was pretending to check the time on her watch. I'm sorry, everybody, I lost track of time. We had to go pick up my daughter at her new school. She's taking an unofficial tour today. This part wasn't a lie. That we are checking out her new school today. The part was a lie was that we were picking her up at the school where we were. She was coming home with that later. Where does she go to school? Asked Mr. Toastman, getting up. She's starting Faulkner High School this fall. Well, that's not easy school to get to. Good for her. Thank you, said Mom, nodding. It will be a bit of stress, though. The A chain down to 86 and the Crosstown bus on the way to the east side. Takes an hour that way, but it's just a 15-minute drive. It really was it. I know a couple of kids who got into Faulkner and love it, said Mr. Toastman. We should really go, Mom, I said, tugging at her pocketbook. We said goodbye quite quickly after that. I think Mr. Toastman was a little surprised that we were leaving so suddenly, and then I wondered if he would blame Jack or Charlotte, even though it was really only Julian who made me feel kind of bad. Everyone was really nice. I made sure to tell Mr. Toastman before we left. I look forward to having you as a student, said Mr. Toastman, patting my back. Bye, I said to Jack, Sarah, and Julian, but I didn't look at them or look up at all until I left the building.
Home. As soon as we have walked at least half a block from the school, Mom said, "So how's it go? Do you like it?" "Not yet, Mom. When we get home," I said. The moment we got inside the house, I ran to my room and threw myself onto my bed. I could tell Mom didn't know what was up, and I guess I really didn't either. I felt sad and a tiny bit happy at the exact same time. Kind of like laughing and crying feeling all over again. My dog, Daisy, followed me into the room, jumped on the bed, and started licking me all over my face. "Who's a good girlie?" I said in my dad's voice. "Who's a good girlie?" "Is everything okay, sweetness?" Mom said. She wanted to sit down beside me, but Daisy was hugging the bed. "Excuse me, Daisy." She sat down, knocking Daisy's head over. "Was those kids not nice to you, Augie?" "Oh no," I said, only half lying. They was okay. "But was they nice?" Mr. Tubman went out of his way to tell me what sweet kids they are. I nodded. But I kept looking at Daisy, kissing her on the nose and rubbing her ear until her back leg did that little shake. That boy Julian seemed especially nice. Mom said, "Oh no, he was the least nice." "I like Jack though, he was nice. I thought his name was Jack Will, but it's just Jack." Wait, maybe I'm getting them confused. Which one was the one with the dark hair that was pushed forward? Julian. And he wasn't nice? No, not nice. Oh, she thought about this for a second. Okay, so is he the kind of kids who one way in front of grown-ups and another way in front of kids? "Yes, I guess." "Oh, I hate those," she answered, nodding. He was like, "So, August, what the deal with your face?" I said, looking at Daisy the whole time. "Were you in a fire or something?" Mom didn't say anything. When I looked up at her, I could tell she was completely shocked. "He didn't say it in a mean way," I said quickly. "He was just asking." Mom nodded. "But I really like Jack," I said. "He was like, 'Shut up, Julian,' and like, 'You're so rude, Julian.'" Mom nodded again. She pressed her fingers on her forehead like she was pushing against a headache. "I'm so sorry, Augie," she said quietly. Her cheeks was bright red. "Oh, no, it's okay, Mom, really. You don't have to go to school if you don't want, sweetie." "I want to," I said. "Augie?" "Really, Mom, I want to." And I wasn't lying.
First day jitters. Okay, so I admit that the first day of school I was so nervous that the butterflies in my stomach were more like pigeons flying around my inside. Mom and Dad were probably a little nervous too, but they acted all excited for me, taking pictures of me and Vera before we left the house, since it was Vera's first day of school too. Up until a few days ago, we still weren't sure I would be going to school at all. After my tour of the school, Mom and Dad had reserved sides on whether I should go or not. Mom was now the one saying I shouldn't go, and Dad was saying I should. Dad had told me he was really proud of how I handled myself with Julian and that I was turning into quite a strong man, and I heard him tell Mom that he now thought she had been right all along. But Mom, I could tell, wasn't so sure anymore. When Dad told her that he and Via wanted to walk me to school today, too, since it was on the way to the subway station, Mom seemed relieved that we would all be going together, and I guess I was too. Even though Picture Breath is just a few blocks from our house, I've only been on that block a couple of times before. In general, I try to avoid blocks where a lot of kids roaming around. On our block, everybody knows me and I know everybody. I know every bridge and every tree trunk and every crack in the sidewalk. I know Mrs. Grimani, the lady who always sitting by her window, and the old guy who walks up and down the street whistling like a bird. I know the deli on the corner where Mom gets our bagels, and the waitresses at the coffee shop who all call me honey and give me lollipops whenever they see me. I love my neighborhood of North River Heights, which is why it was so strange to be walking down these blocks, feeling like it was all new to me suddenly. I'm at 4th Avenue, a street I've been down a million times, looked totally different for some reasons. Full of people I never saw before, waiting for buses, pushing strollers. We crossed Ahmed's Ford and turned up Hayes Place. Via walked next to me like she usually does, and Mom and Dad were behind us. As soon as we turned the corner, we saw all the kids in front of the school, hundreds of them talking to each other in little groups, laughing or standing with their parents, who were talking with other parents. I kept my head down. Everyone just as nervous as you are, said Vera in my ear. Just remember that is everyone's first day of school, okay? Mr. Tushman were greeting students and parents in front of the school in chase. I have to admit, so far nothing bad had happened. I didn't catch anyone staring or even noticing me. Only once did I look up to see some girls looking my way and whispering with their hands cupped over their mouth. But they looked away when they saw me notice them. We reached the front in chains. Okay, so there it is, big boy, said Dad, putting his hands on top of my shoulders. Have a great first day, I love you, said Via, giving me a big kiss and a hug. You too, I said. I love you, Audrey, said Dad, hugging me. Bye. Then Mom hugged me, but I could tell she was about to cry, which should have totally embraced me, so I just gave her a fast, hard hug, turned, and disappeared into the school.
This is chapter 15, Locked, from the book Wonder by Ajay Placio. I went straight to room 301 on the 3rd floor. Now I was glad I'd gone to that little tour because I knew exactly where to go and didn't have to look up once. I noticed that some kids were definitely staring at me now. I did my thing of pretending not to notice. I went inside the classroom and the teacher was writing on the chalkboard while all the kids started sitting at different desks, and the desks were in half circle facing the chalkboard. So I chose the desk in the middle toward the back, which I thought would make it harder for anyone to stare at me. I still kept my head way down, just looking up enough from my underbanks to see everyone's feet. As the desk started to fill up, I did notice that no one sat down next to me. A couple of times someone was about to sit next to me, then changed his or her mind at the last minute and sat somewhere else. "Hey, August," it was Charlotte, giving me her little wave as she sat down at the desk in front of the class. Why anyone would ever choose to sit way up front in a class, I don't know. "Hey," I said, nodding hello. Then I noticed Julian was sitting a few seats away from her, talking to some other kids. I know he saw me, but he didn't say hello. Suddenly someone was sitting next to me. It was Jack. "What's up?" he said, nodding at me. "Hey, Jack," I answered, waving my hand, which I immediately wished I hadn't done, because it felt kind of uncool. "Okay, kids, okay, everybody, settle down," said the teacher, now facing us. She had written her name, Miss Petrosa, on the chalkboard. "Everybody find a seat, please. Come in," she said to a couple kids who had just walked in the room. "There's a seat there and right there." She hadn't noticed me yet. Now the first thing I want everyone to do is stop talking, and she noticed me. "Put your backpacks down and quiet down." She had only hesitated for millionths of a second, but I could tell the moment she saw me. Like I said, I'm used to it by now. "I'm going to take attendance and do the sitting chart," she continued, sitting on the edge of her desk. Next to her were 3 neat rows of accordion folders. "When I call your name, come up and I will hand you a folder with your name on it. It contains your class schedule and your combination lock, which you should not try to open until I tell you to. Your locker number is written on the class schedule. Be forewarned that some lockers are not right outside the class but down the hall, and before anyone even thinks of asking, no, you cannot switch lockers, and you can't switch locks. Then if there's time at the end of the period, we are all going to get to know each other a little better, okay? Okay." She picked up the clipboard on her desk and started reading the names out loud. "Okay, so Julian Albans," she said, looking up. Julian raised his hand and sat here at the same time. "Hi, Julian," she said, making a note on her sitting chart. She picked up the very first folder and held it out toward him. "Come pick it up," she said, kind of no nonsense. She got up and took it from her. "It's Manichin." She handed a folder to each kid as she read off the names. As she went down the list, I noticed that the seat next to me was the only one still empty, even though there were 2 kids sitting at one desk just a few seats away. When she called the name of one of them, a big kid named Henry Joblin, who already looked like a teenager, she said, "Henry, there's an empty desk right over there. Why don't you take that seat, okay?" She handed him his folder and pointed to the desk next to mine. Although I didn't look at him directly, I could tell Henry did not want to move next to me, just by the way he dragged his backpack on the floor as he came over, like he was moving in slow motion. Then he plopped his backpack up really high on the right side of the desk, so it was kind of like a wall between his desk and mine. "Madam McCoy, Miss Petosa was saying. Here, said a girl about 4 desks down from my snoring. Here, said the kid that had been sitting with Henry Joplin. As he walked back to his desk, I saw him shoot Henry a poor you look. August Pullman, said Miss Petosa. Here, I said quietly, raising my hand a bit. Hi, August, she said, smiling at me very nicely. When I went up to get my folder, I kind of felt everyone's eyes burning into my back for a few seconds as I stood in the front of the class. And everybody locked down when I walked back to my desk. I resisted spinning the combination when I sat down, even though everyone else was doing it, because she had specifically told us not to. I was already pretty good at opening locks. Anyway, because I used them on my bike, Henry kept trying to open his lock, but couldn't do it. He was getting frustrated and kind of cursing under his breath. Miss Petosa called out the next few names. The last name was Jackwell. After she handed Jack his folder, she said, "Okay, so everybody write your combinations down somewhere safe that you won't forget, okay? But if you do forget, which happens at least 3.2 times per semester, Miss Garcia had a list of all the combination numbers. Now go ahead, take your logs out of your folders, and spend a couple of minutes practicing how to open them. Though I know some of you went ahead and did that anyway." She was looking at Henry when she said that, and in the meanwhile, I will tell you guys a little something about myself, and then you guys can tell me a little about yourselves, and we'll get to know each other. Sound good? Good. She smiled at everyone, though I felt like she was smiling at me the most. It wasn't a shiny smile, like Miss Garcia's smiles, but a normal smile, like she meant it. She looked very different from what I thought teachers were going to look like. I guess I thought she would look like Miss Fall from Jimmy Neutron, an old lady with a big bun on top of her head. But in fact, she looked exactly like Mon Mothma from Star Wars Episode 4, haircut kind of boys and big white shirt, kind of like a tunic. She turned around and started writing on the chalkboard. Henry still couldn't get his lock open, and he was getting more and more frustrated every time someone else popped one open. He got really annoyed when I was able to open mine on the first try. The funny thing is, if he hadn't put the backpack between us, I most definitely would have offered him to have him. Thank you for listening.
Around the room, Miss Petosa told us a little about who she was. It was boring stuff about where she originally came from and how she always wanted to teach. And she left her job on Wall Street about 6 years ago to pursue her dream and teach kids. She ended by asking if anyone had any questions, and Julian raised his hand. Yes, she had to look at the list to remember his name. "Julian, that's cool about how you're pursuing your dream," he said. "Thank you, you're welcome." He smiled proudly. "Okay, so why don't you tell us a little about yourself, Julian? Actually, here's what I wanted everyone to do. Think of 2 things you want other people to know about you." Actually, wait a minute. How many of you came from the Beecher Lowell School? About half the kids raised their hands. Okay, so a few of you already know each other, but the rest of you, I guess, are new to the school, right? Okay, so everyone think of 2 things you want other people to know about you. And if you know some of the other kids, try to think of things they don't already know about you. Okay? Okay, so let's start with Julian and we'll go around the room. Julian scrunched up his face and started tapping his forehead like he was thinking really hard.
Okay, whenever you're ready, Miss Petosa said. Okay, so number 1 is that. Do me a favor and start with your names, okay? Miss Petosa interrupted. It'll help me remember everyone. Oh, okay, so my name is Julian, and the number 1 thing I like to tell everyone about myself is that I just got battleground mystic from my way and it's totally awesome. And the number 2 thing is that we got a ping pong table this summer. Very nice, I love ping pong, said Miss Petosa. Does anyone have any questions for Julian? Is battleground mystic multiplayer or one player? Said the kid named Mars. Not those kinds of questions, guys, said Miss Petosa. Okay, so how about you? She pointed to Charlotte, probably because her dad was closest to the front. Oh sure, Charlotte didn't hesitate for even a second, like she knew exactly what she wanted to say. My name's Charlotte, I have 2 sisters, and we just got a new puppy named Suki in July. We got her from an animal shelter, and she's so cute. That's great, Charlotte. Thank you, said Miss Petosa. Okay then, who's next?
Chapter 16. Lamb to the Slaughter. Like a lamb to the slaughter, something that you say about someone who goes somewhere calmly, not knowing that something unpleasant is going to happen to them. I googled it last night. That's what I was thinking when Miss Petosa called my name, and suddenly it was my turn to talk. My name is August, I said, and yeah, I kind of mumbled it. What? Said someone. Can you speak up, honey? Said Miss Petosa. My name is August, I said louder, forcing myself to look up. I have a sister named Via and a dog named Daisy, and that's it. Wonderful, said Miss Petosa. Anyone have question for August? No one said anything. Okay, you're next, said Miss Petosa to Jack. Wait, I have a question for August, said Julian, raising his hand. Why do you have that tiny braid in the back of your hair? Is it like a Padawan thing? Yeah, I sure nodded. What's a Padawan thing? Said Miss Petosa, smiling at me. It's from Star Wars, answered Julian. A Padawan is a Jedi apprentice. Oh, interesting, answered Miss Petosa, looking at me. So, are you into Star Wars, August? I guess. I nodded, not looking up because I really wanted was just to slide under the desk. Who's your favorite character? Julian asked. I started thinking maybe he wasn't so bad. Jango Fett. What about Darth Sidious? He said. Do you like him? Okay, guys, you can talk about Star Wars stuff as resets, said Miss Petosa cheerfully. But let's keep going. We haven't heard from you yet, she said to Jack. Now it was Jack's turn to talk, but I admit I didn't hear a word he said. Maybe no one got the Darth Sidious thing, and maybe Julian didn't mean anything at all. But in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Darth Sidious' face gets burned by Sith lightning and becomes totally deformed. His skin gets all shivered up, and his whole face just kind of melts. I peeked at Julian, and he was looking at me. Yeah, he knew what he was saying.
Hi, I'm Kanchi, and this is chapter 18, Lunch from a book Wonder by R.J. Palacio. Via had warned me about lunch in middle school, so I guess I should have known it would be hard. I just hadn't expected it to be this hard. Basically, all the kids from all the 5th grade classes poured into the cafeteria at the same time, talking loudly and bumping into one another while they ran to different tables. One of the lunchroom teachers said something about no seat saving allowed, but I didn't know what she meant, and maybe no one else did either, because just about everybody was saving seats for their friends. I tried to sit down at one table, but the kid in the next chair said, "Oh, sorry, but somebody else is sitting here." So I moved to an empty table and just waited for everyone to finish stampeding and the lunchroom teacher to tell us what to do next. As she started telling us the cafeteria rules, I looked around to see where Jack Will was sitting, but I didn't see him on my side of the room. Kids were still coming in as the teacher started calling the first few tables to get their trays and stand on line at the counter. Julian, Henry, and Miles were sitting at a table toward the back of the room. Mom had packed me a cheese sandwich, graham crackers, and a juice box, so I didn't need to stand on line when my table was called. Instead, I just concentrated on opening my backpack, pulling out my lunch bag, and slowly opening the aluminum foil wrapping of my sandwich. I could tell I was being stared at without even looking up. I knew that people were nudging each other, watching me out of the corners of their eyes. I thought I was used to those kinds of stare by now, but I guess I wasn't. There was one table of girls that I knew were whispering about me because they were talking behind their hands. Their eyes and whispers keep bouncing over to me. I hate the way I eat. I know how weird it looks. I had a surgery to fix my cleft palate when I was a baby, and then a second cleft surgery when I was 4. But I still have a hole in the roof of my mouth. And even though I had a jaw alignment surgery a few years ago, I have to chew food in the front of my mouth. I didn't even realize how this looked until I was at a birthday party once, and one of the kids told the mom of the birthday boy he didn't want to sit next to me because I was too messy with all the food crumbs shooting out of my mouth. I know the kid wasn't trying to be mean, but he got in big trouble later, and his mom called my mom that night to apologize. When I got home from the party, I went to the bathroom mirror and started eating a saltine cracker to see what I looked like when I was chewing. The kid was right. I eat like a tortoise. If you ever seen a tortoise eating, like some prehistoric swamp thing.
How I came to life. I like when Mom tells this story because it makes me laugh so much. It's not funny in the way a joke is funny, but when Mom tells it, Veer and I just start cracking up. So when I was in my mom's stomach, no one had any idea I would come out looking the way I look. Mom had had Veer 4 years before, and that had been such a walk in the park. Mom's expression that there was no reason to run any special test. About 2 months before I was born, the doctors realized there was something wrong with my face, but they didn't think it was going to be bad. They told Mom and Dad I have a cleft palate and some other stuff going on. They call it small anomalies. There was 2 nurses in the delivery room the night I was born. They was very nice and sweet. The other one, Mom said, did not seem at all nice or sweet. She had very big arms, and here comes the funny part. She kept farting, like she bring Mom some ice sheep and then fart. She checked Mom's blood pressure and fart. Mom says it was unbelievable because the nurse never even said excuse me. Meanwhile, Mom's regular daughter wasn't on duty that night, so Mom got stuck with this cranky kid daughter she and Dad nicknamed Doogie after some old TV show or something. They didn't actually call him that to his face. But Mom says that even though everyone in the room was kind of grumpy, Dad kept making her laugh all night long. When I come out of my mom's stomach, she said the whole room got very quiet. Mom didn't even get a chance to look at me because the night nurse immediately rushed me out of the room. Dad was in such a hurry to follow her that he dropped the video camera, which broke into million pieces. And then Mom got very upset and tried to get out of the bed to see where they was going, but the fighting nurse put her very big arms on Mom to keep her down in the bed. They was practically fighting because Mom was hysterical and the fighting nurse was yelling at her to stay calm. And then they both started screaming for the daughter. But guess what? He had fainted right on the floor. So when the fighting nurse saw that he had fainted, she started pushing him with her foot to get him to wake up, yelling at him the whole time. What kind of daughter are you? What kind of daughter are you? Get up! Get up! And then all of a sudden, she let out the biggest, loudest, smelliest fart in the history of fart. Mom thinks this was actually the fart that finally woke the daughter. Anyway, when Mom tells the story, she acts out all the parts, including the farting noises, and it's so funny. Mom says the fighting nurse turned out to be a very nice woman. She stayed with Mom the whole time, didn't leave her side even after Dad came back, and the daughter told them how sick I was. Mom remembers exactly what the nurse whispered in her ear when the daughter told her I probably wouldn't live through the night. Everyone born of God overcometh the world. And the next day, after I had lived through the night, it was that nerd who held Mom's hand when they brought her to meet me for the first time. Mom says by then they have told her all about me. She had been preparing herself for the seeing of me, but she says that when she looked down into my tiny mushed up face for the first time, all she could see was how pretty my eyes was. Mom is beautiful, by the way, and Dad is handsome. Veer is pretty, in case you were wondering.